Aloha guys, Dr. Thomas coming back at you. We're going to continue our fascinating discussion with muscles. When we left off, we were talking about the hamstrings, an easily injured area. I've pulled mine in martial arts many times. There are three of them: biceps femoris, semimembranosus, and semitendinosus right here. Again, the calf muscle is called the gastrocnemius. Underneath that, inferior to it, is the soleus muscle. Here's the Achilles tendon, most famous tendon probably in the body. Okay, the glute muscles, the butt muscles, there are three of them: gluteus medius, minimus, and maximus. Gluteus maximus is the big one on the outside, help extend the hip. Let's see. The muscles on the sides of the body, like the bodybuilders are always are called the latissimus dorsi, or the lats. They help to adduct the arms. The big shoulder muscles up here are called the trapezius muscles, or the traps. They help to shrug the shoulders. They're really strong. There's some little ones here: infraspinatus, teres, major, minor. Hard to remember. Triceps we talked about. Deltoid, the shoulder muscle, abducts the arms. Okay, moving along here. Facial muscles. Frontalis is in the frontal bone, frontal part of the face. Orbicularis, oculi, guys, are the muscles around the eyes. Real complicated. Levator palpebrae superioris is what raises our eyelids up. Orbicularis oris is around the mouth. The buccinators are some of the muscles we use to chew with. Zygomaticus is around the cheeks. Platysmus is this sheet in here. Chewing muscle. Primarily the masseter muscle and temporalis muscle. Here's the masseter. Where's the temporalis? Here, up here at the temples. Okay. Here we can see them. So let's look at. Here's the frontalis. Orbicularis oculi. Orbicularis oris are the muscles around the lip, mouth. Zygomaticus by the zygomatic arches. Remember. SCM muscle, sternocleidomastoideus. There's a trap. There are many muscles deep in here. These scalenes are deep. Muscles of the neck, we've already talked about both of these. The SCMs right here, and the traps right here. And the scalenes, which are deep to the SCM. You can't see them. Okay, this is real important. The muscles of breathing. By far, guys, the most important one, the most utilized, is the diaphragm. You should have it on top, and this should be way down here somewhere, because the diaphragm is the muscle responsible for breathing. We contract it, it pulls down, creates a vacuum, sucks the air in. We also use the intercostal muscles between the ribs to assist in breathing some too. But by far, guys, the muscle responsible for breathing is the diaphragm. Abdominal wall has 4 layers of muscle. Internal obliques running this way, external obliques running this way, transverse abdominis running this way, and rectus abdominis, or six-packs, running this way. That's what holds the abdominal contents in, guys. Okay, the vertebral column is quite complex also. Erector spinae are muscles that are on either side of the spine and run up and down it. The SCMs we already talked about. The trapezius we already talked about. The abdominal muscles we already talked about. We haven't mentioned the iliopsoas. It is deep inside of the hip, and it's what flexes the hip. In other words, like you were raising your knee up to knee somebody. Oop, like in MMA. Muscles of the shoulder and a girdle and arm. Trapezius, serratus anterior are these that you can see here. Pec major, abduct the arms. Latissimus dorsi, bring the arms down. The deltoid. Teres major is deep in there, guys. And there are 4 muscles that make up the rotator cuff. The rotator cuff is underneath the deltoid muscle. And it's responsible, it and the deltoid, for abducting our arms. Let's see, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, subscapularis. I remember, that's the 4 rotator cuff muscles. Muscles of the forearm. Biceps is, of course, the biceps. Triceps is the triceps. Underneath, deep to the biceps, is a brachialis muscle. Brachioradialis is that big muscle on top of the forearm here. Now, the forearm, guys, what it boils down to is the ones on the inside are wrist flexors. The ones on the outside are wrist extensors. Now there are several different muscles. They all have a name. We don't go over them, I don't think, which is good. It's just too much. And then remember, supination is palms up. Pronation is palms down. There are muscles that play a role in that too. Muscles of hand, wrist, and fingers. The flexor carpi group. Again, if it's flexor, it's on the inside. If it's extensor, it's on the outside. Why? This is flexion. This is extension. Let me correct something too I saw earlier, guys. I forgot. In the book, it has wrist flexion like this, wrist extension like this, and wrist hyperextension like this. That is absolutely incorrect. It's wrong. This is flexion. This is extension. This is neutral, not extension. Hyperextension is if Steven Seagal grabs you and goes, if he can still grab anybody. He's fat and out of shape as he is. Okay, flexor, extensor. Digitorum are the ones that flex and extend the fingers. These flex the wrist. So you can tell by the name, guys, the carpal bones are in the wrist. The digitorums are the digits. See? There's a method to all this. All right, carpal tunnel syndrome, I've treated it many times successfully. The carpal bones are positioned in such a way there's a tunnel there. The median nerve goes through it. One of the major nerves goes into your hand. And there's connective tissue here, and sometimes that stuff shifts around and thickens and it presses on it. It can be very successfully treated with therapy and stuff. The more conventional medical approach is to put you in a splint and use medication, which might help some, and then ultimately do surgery. The surgery is, in my opinion, not very successful. I've treated a number of people who had the surgery and it still bothered because they go there and just try to chop all that out of there. Muscles of the thigh. The three glutes. Iliopsoas is deep, flexes the hip. Tensor fasciae lata is on the outsides of the hips. Adductor group are the muscles on the inside of the thigh that bring the thigh in. Pectineus is another extensor. Quadriceps femoris is one of the quads. The quadriceps are made of 4 muscles. Quadriceps femoris is probably the biggest one. Sartorius is the longest muscle in the body, and it goes obliquely across the front of the thigh. And then we have the 3 hamstrings, semitendinosus, semimembranosus, and biceps femoris. Muscles of the legs and foot. The quadriceps. Quadriceps extend the knee. The quadriceps extend the knee. Here they are. Rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, medius, and intermedius. Sartorius we mentioned. Tibialis anterior, the muscle in the front of the lower leg, next to the shin, is the tibialis anterior. Peroneus longus and brevis are also on the sides and go down to the feet. The 3 hamstring muscles we mentioned a couple of times. Here they are. Easily injured. A lot of athletes have problems with it. I've had mine strained a number of times. The foot. The gastrocnemius muscle plantar flexes the foot, or raises us up on our toes, if you want to say it that way. They're very strong. They're what keeps us standing up straight. Now, I know what you're thinking. You say, Dr. Tom, don't our knees do that? No. We lock our knees. There's very little muscular action there after that. It's these darn gastrocs and soleus that keep us standing up, because the foot acts like a lever going. Tibialis posterior, we mentioned, is the Achilles tendon. Special muscles, let's see. Praying muscles. Yeah. Oh, we're finished already. My God, we finished up early. Let's see. Well, in that case, let's see. Hamstrings. Let's go back up here and look at some of these major muscles. I wished they had it broken down a little bit better, guys. And that's not too bad, but I wish they had it broken down a little bit better, where you could see what I'm trying to say is have the diagrams of the muscles right there on the same page that they're talking about, but I guess there's not room to do that. And if they did, it would be a little tiny drawing you could see. When I was in school, guys, learning all this, We had to learn every muscle in the body, its origin, its insertion, its action, means what it did, and its innervation, what nerve innervated it. Where you guys have this one, I'm sorry, you guys have this one 5-week module on anatomy and physiology. I had 4 anatomy classes that lasted a whole quarter in succession, several hours a week, plus with human dissection lab. And that was just anatomy. Then we had a separate physiology course on every part of the body: neurophysiology, digestive physiology, endocrinology, physiology, endocrine physiology, renal physiology, cardiac physiology, pulmonary physiology, reproductive physiology. I know what you're thinking. No, actually, I don't. I don't know what the hell you're thinking. Okay. However, you can make a very successful argument that you guys don't have to know it that well. Absolutely true. Yeah, boy, in our day, I darn sure did. Okay, here's Frontalis Masseter. Buccinator helps chew. Zygomaticus, SCM, sternocleidomastoid. If the SCM's guys contract together, it flexes the neck. If it contracts on just one side, it rotates it to the opposite side. Doing. Deltoids, pecs, rectus abdominis. Here's the serratus anteriors. Biceps brachialis is deep to that. Here's brachioradialis. Here's the wrist flexor group. Here's the wrist extensor group. Okay. Here's the sartorius. I said longest muscle in the body. Here's the adductor group. Here's part of the quadriceps. Here's pronaos longus brevis antibialis anterior. Pretty good. Here's the trapezius muscle. They go all the way up and attach to the skull, the base of the skull. Yeah. Very strong muscles. Here are the deltoids. Here's the triceps. They're called triceps brachii because they have 3 heads. They attach 3 different ways. The glute muscles, the butt muscles. Remember, there's 3 of them. Gluteus maximus is the biggest one. It's on the outside. The adductor group is what pulls the thighs in to like more or less a normal position. The hamstrings, biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and on the inside, semimembranosus, collectively known as the hamstring. Here's the calf muscle, the gastroc. Extremely strong muscle. Guys, in the gym, you'll see relatively unathletic people doing the toe raises with like a couple of 100 pounds on the machine. It's because these gastroc muscles are so incredibly strong. Again, the foot acts like a lever, and the gastroc is what keeps it adjusted and keeps us standing up straight. Facial muscles, we pretty much went over those. This breathing's real important, but what's particularly important is it's the diaphragm. The diaphragm. The intercostal muscles help some, but not much. It's insulting that the diaphragm gets listed after them, in my opinion. We've pretty much gone over all that. Carpal tunnel, guys, is real common. When I first started practicing in the 80s, you saw it mainly in people that did construction work and like carpenters and people that were hammering, but now you see it almost exclusively in people who are on a computer for long periods of time. And what happens is that stuff shifts around in there and thickens, and you'll see people wearing one of these braces. It's called a cock-up brace. It has it, and I'm sure they help probably some. Sometimes those kind of things are of quite a bit of value. I'm not opposed to surgery if it's an advanced case, but I am if it's not, because therapy and manipulation of the carpal bones will bring about great improvement in it. How do I know? I've treated it probably 500 times. I don't know, a lot, and almost never fail to have good response. Okay, we're finished up. This covers the muscular system. Guys, go back over that. Muscle physiology is pretty complicated. We'll see you next time. Be there or be square. Dr. Tom is signing off.